And we are live, Facebook Live, right here on these two pages. I have questions that were submitted earlier to Twitter, and I will be answering them. But first, let's give people a moment to join in. I have to imagine this is very similar to Instagram Live, which I have more experience with. Making sure you can hear me. Let me know you can hear me. What's up, everybody? Happy Saturday. I figure I will do a mix of both these questions, which is very tax returny, what I'm doing right here, and your questions in the chat window. I'm coming to you from beautiful St. Paul, Minnesota, and I think that's right. And we're on show day on a Saturday, right before sound check, and the record's been out now for a little over 24 hours. So hopefully everyone's had some time to sit with it for a while, take it in, and have some questions about it. So let me just take a gander at the chat. My favorite song to record on the new record, that question comes from Cole Hansen. My favorite song to record. Well, a lot of my favorite songs were the hardest to record. So I have to think about that. Like, what was the most favorite to record? Love on the Weekend was very fun to record. Love on the Weekend was a very short distance between having the inspiration for a song, putting it on tape, and listening back to it and going, yup. I happen to really like Love on the Weekend. Love on the Weekend sort of fleshes out this feeling that I've been having for a long time, and that's how I feel about. It's a very positive outlook on feeling good. Although it's actually a very negative outlook on feeling good, too. Depending on, it's sort of the way I broke down Love on the Weekend is the verse 1 is a Friday, verse 2 is a Saturday, and verse 3 is a Sunday. And that one was really fun to do. I'm trying to think of what else was just, Emoji of a Wave, very difficult to record. Still Feel Like Your Man, very difficult to record. I would say maybe Moving On and Getting Over, because Moving On and Getting Over is my answer, because it was really fun to always open up that song and try a different part on it, try a different guitar. Moving On and Getting Over, we would open twice a week and go, let's put something else on it. And it was really fun to play Weed and Seed with the guitar parts and with the vocal parts, and with a different artist would come in, different musician would come in. I go, hey, try something on this song. And so that was actually really fun, because I always knew we had it. It was just a matter of how to make it more and more interesting. So that was fun. That song, a lot of mistakes stuck to that song. It became very cool. Let's go to the piece of paper. By the way, before I get into the question and answer, I want to say thank you guys for sharing so much love and appreciation for the music. I definitely appreciate it more than I've ever appreciated it. And it's more fun than it's ever been. So thank you. Am I coming to Brazil in October? That's a very specific question. You must know something. Okay, so Mike Davis from Texas writes, if you were forced to only use one guitar for the tour, which one would you choose? Well, the political answer is the PRS prototype, but the honest answer is my 1964 Stratocaster. That is even Paul Smith would tell you, well, yeah, that's the Stradivarius for me. So if I was only forced to use one guitar, and what kind of sick animal would make me do that, it would be the 64. I look to it someday being the PRS prototype. But I think you like me because I tell the truth. And I love the prototype. Let's see what else is going on. New PRS Stratocaster style guitar, give us the lowdown. It's in my hands on stage, road testing it. There's no other way to test the guitar out than to play it on stage, and I think it's kind of cool to invite everyone in to watch the track test. Right on. Can I come to Hawaii for vacay and do a couple shows? I don't vacation very often, nor do I vacation very well. Vacation for me is traveling a long distance to sit in a warm climate and do the very same thing I would do at home. And where are all my do nothing on vacation people? Where are all my do nothing on vacation people? The kind of people who say, you have a good time ziplining, I will still be here by the pool when you return. Where are my do nothing on vacation people? Let's take another look at the questions here. Lisa Mella Burridge writes, did you draw the portraits of yourself and the girl for the Search for Everything? No. I wish I had that kind of talent. That is the lovely Zoe Milk, who I met via her work on Instagram. And this is what I love about Instagram, is that it exposes you to art. You know, Twitter exposes you to ideas, and Instagram exposes you to art. And I'm not quite sure how I started following her, but I was like, oh, that's the person to do the album art. And she's more famous for doing paintings. But I liked the sketch. You know, my friend Joe wrote me this morning and said, I get why the album cover is so simple. It's because it allows the music to make its own color palette. And I was like, bingo. The idea is let the music be colorful. And the cover is certainly provocative, and I love what she's done. And it's also supposed to rattle just a little bit, because it's just supposed to leave, like I've said before, I don't want to be a boring singer-songwriter. And I'm not saying that any other singer-songwriter is boring, but I'm saying that the idiom of being a singer-songwriter is fairly conventional. And I'm trying to be just a little more spacey. Let's see what's going on in there. In this little... a lot of kind words. Thank you very much. What's the best distortion pedal for soloing over a clean loop? Well, there's so many of them. You know, there's so many of them. And I don't know what kind of music you play, but I would have a couple different levels of clean boost, dirty boost, and then crushing boost, which is kind of what I do on stage. David Flint from Chile writes, I really need to know, did Walt Grace make it to Japan? And I like you not knowing. Although I did say the other night in a moment of excitement on stage that he totally makes it. And heroes don't die. Heroes don't die. That said, I do enjoy both scenarios, because even if he doesn't make it, he's still a hero. That's what's great about that story. Is that even if they just find his empty, sunken, crashed against the rocks, homemade fan blade one-man submarine ride without him in it, he's still a hero for doing it. That's what I think. One song from yours that you don't want to play ever again, Faraday Kusuma. That's a good question. I don't think I want to play Assassin. I don't think I want to play Assassin again. It's something about it. Don't hold me to that, because I might do it at some point. It reminds me personally of a time when I was looking at things with a sensibility that was, like, the battle study sensibility was a little dark for me. Like, relatively dark for me. I'm not a very dark person, as it's probably well known, but that's a little too intense, a predatory thing. I don't dig the predatory vibe. But I like the music. But hey, you never know. That's a really good question. I enjoy that question. Let's see what else. Sadira Carvalho from Brazil. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, as they say. What is the most difficult part of the album's post-production? The most difficult part of the album's post-production, and that's a fine in the no question, is probably the mix. So when you're making a record, you have thousands of notes in your head. Not musical notes, but sort of intellectual notes about what you want the music to sound like and what the music's going to sound like when you finally mix it. I mean, thousands and thousands of tiny little cues in your head. Well, that guitar is going to be here and that's going to go there. And in certain cases, after it's mixed, you realize that your intentions for the song were bigger than any song could be, and that you have to settle for the fact that this is a very good version of what you had in mind. and no one else is going to understand what you had in mind. There are certain songs that are just the expectation for them is just beyond what could be recorded or what could fit in a mix. And you have to listen to the mix and go, this is everything that can fit on a song. And I have to do away with my concept of what I thought it would be, for the simple fact that it's going to be great and everyone else is, it's going to connect with everyone else. But when you had a record open for 2.5 years, there were moments I went, okay, I have to give all these ideas up to the reality that this is what the song's going to sound like. And I think if I had stayed making the record for another month, I would have gone crazy, because the songs would have lived way too long in my belly. John, I noticed you talked much less than in past concert when we saw you in Columbus. My previous show, I talked a lot, joked around. Why the change? I really loved going out with Dead & Company and not looking at the microphone as something that you speak into all that much. That the microphone is there to sing into. I mean, I never saw a microphone I didn't love, but ultimately, you get to play more songs. The other thing, too, was I promise you, if you ever got on stage in front of a bunch of people and they were there to hear your music, and you started talking into the microphone to tell a story, what you thought was 1 minute of a story was 6 minutes of a story. And 6 minutes of a story could also be another song. So I'm trying to jam as much music as I can in the 2 hours and 15 minutes. That I don't think there's anything I have to say. And get this, everybody. I don't think there's anything I have to say that's more interesting than what I've already written on this record. So I'm trying to make room for the music. Would I ever consider inviting another musician up on stage while on the tour? Totally. I've had Shawn Mendes and my friend Dave Chappelle, who I staunchly defend as a musician. He is a whole conduit for music. Like I said on stage, we've jammed till 4 or 5 in the morning. And he doesn't sing or play an instrument, but he jams. It's crazy. Happy birthday to your 9-year-old daughter, Kim. A lot of love from Brazil. Do you know that Sao Paulo, Brazil, given my Instagram insights, is the #1 highest concentration of followers of mine in any city in the world? So big love to Sao Paulo. #2 is New York. Let's go back to some questions here. Carrie Paxson from Massachusetts asks, I'm wondering how many takes it took to get the dancing scenes from the Still Feel Like Your Man video. I imagine lots of cracking up with the pandas. Very little cracking up, because the serious thing about the Still Feel Like Your Man video was that I was fulfilling this fantasy that I wanted to dance. Like, I want to take dance lessons. Like, I always thought it'd be really interesting if I was a secret awesome dancer. I don't think it's going to happen because I'm very lanky, is what I want to say. And so I can't really be graceful. I'm sort of a crane. Although a crane is graceful, but you don't see a crane hip-hop dancing. But I took it very seriously. So I had 2 days of rehearsal, like sweatpants, B-roll doing rehearsal, in the mirror. And when it came time to shoot the video, I was just too intent on getting the dance right. And I probably only got it right like twice per chorus. And there's probably a reason you don't see the whole dance all at once, because it's probably pretty inconsistent on my part. But I wasn't cracking up because I was like, I really gave myself a task of be as professional a pop star on this video as you could possibly be. And I was very disciplined. Like, I put myself to bed at like 11 o'clock at night. And I was like, I got a video shoot tomorrow. I enjoyed the work ethic of making that video. So yeah. Much love and respect to you, Kyle Brady. You've gone through very harsh public experiences. I'm very happy to have you back artistically. Your music is so real. Is it hard to be vulnerable? Asks Whitney Porter. It was hard to be vulnerable because the matter inside of me had yet to sort of figure itself out. So me being vulnerable unleashed a lot of random stuff. it's really fine being vulnerable now because I know who I am. And so I have no problem telling the truth because the truth is who I am. And I wouldn't mistake my telling the truth now with being bold or irreverent in the past. So it's really fun to speak the truth. Then you can watch people try and make it two-dimensional and reduce it and try to turn it into a different shape, and you still look at it and go, whatever, So I don't have a problem being vulnerable. It's kind of my job as a musician. And if you know where you stand, then vulnerability is not scary. Vulnerability is scary if you're not sure where you stand because you're not sure what the next, you make bold statements, but you're not sure if they're you. I haven't made a bold statement in a long time that wasn't exactly who I am. So bring on the vulnerability. Also, I wouldn't say anything that would make me wish I didn't reveal something about myself. Maybe in the very beginning. I hadn't done press in a long time when I did the New York Times interview, and that's a hell of a practice run, but I understand it now again, like what to offer and what not to offer. And look, if you're telling the truth and you tell too much, that's not the worst thing in the world. That's not the worst thing in the world. I don't have a problem with that. You seem pretty comfortable right now, despite having to play in front of thousands in a little bit. How have your nerves evolved? How do you feel before a large performance? Vincent Reed. That's a very good question. How have my nerves evolved? Well, I'm really happy to be playing with this band. So I love hearing the band. Dead and Company taught me how to stand on stage for 4 hours with a break in the middle. 3.5 hours, if we're being ultra honest. I have a catalog of music that is far too vast to ever fit in one set. I have an audience now that is there for only the reason of loving the music and getting into it. I'm not the sort of standard issue popular anymore, which I love. I love it. Standard issue popular made me uncomfortable, and now everyone who's in the room is there because they love this music top to bottom. And that takes a lot of nerves away. And also, I think I'm just older and I understand that I'm not there to win anybody, to prove anything to anybody. And it really is, I've been taking the easier vibe up on stage with me. And I'm not looking to knock people out. See, when you're younger and you want to make a name for yourself, you're there for knockouts. Like you're there for KOs. And that's nerve-wracking because you won't ever really know if you did. But for me, again, with love to the Grateful Dead community, I was instructed how to interact with a crowd and interact with your own music in a way that's so much more easygoing than the concept of must destroy. We're done with that, and it's really good in your 20s and your early 30s, destroy, but I'm not here to destroy anymore, and I'm here to have a great time. And I feel like that vibe is being communicated to the crowd because I look out at the crowd and I'm like, I love you guys. Like it's not really, it's not as so much like coming up through the floor and smoke coming out. It's more like walking on a stage and being like, let's make music. Any chance of another live DVD? Well, I don't know if it's going to be a DVD, but we'll definitely be archiving this band. Definitely be shooting this. I would guess like we'd be firing on all cylinders by middle of the summer, and we'll probably shoot a couple shows, but we should definitely document this for sure. Definitely for sure. Let me go to another question here. Shadul Dabain from India writes, I would love to know what books do you read, given your lyrics are so on point all the time. Any favorite reads? Well, this is where I admit, semi-proudly, I don't know, that I don't read books. I read articles, short stories, I listen to conversation. I love hearing a smart person talk. And I feel like in certain ways, those are like licks to me. They're like guitar licks almost. But the only reason I don't read is because I fall asleep. Where am I fall asleep while you read readers out there? Fall asleep readers represent. I can't take information with eye scanning. when I do this, I will see a word and then think about that word. And as I'm reading, I'll realize I'm missing these next 4 lines. And I go, I got to go back. And I go back. And I'm reading and I go, I just missed it again. And before I'm 3 pages into that, I'm dead asleep. Fall asleep, readers. Marcus Simonini. Sorry, I was scanning. Christopher Lloyd. Christopher Lloyd is on, ladies and gentlemen. The search does never end. Christopher Lloyd, are you do you fall asleep when you read? I cannot stay awake, and I can read. I'm actually a very good reader. I can read very quickly. I can read very articulately. I can't input information through a book, but I have read a couple in my life, and I like them very much. I can't read fiction. I don't know why, but I can definitely read like a good old like anything having to do with heists and plans, bank robberies, anything like that. I don't know why I like it so much. It always starts out with like, well, what, like 21 was sort of like that? Was that, oh, what was the movie? The book was called 21? The book was called, what was the book called? That book was rocking. That book was rocking. Will I ever make another recording of In Your Atmosphere? Yes, I have plans to record some stuff just to put it down on a record that I haven't ever really put down before. So I'd like to document it. Hey, here's the thing that always tripped me out about Christopher Lloyd. So Back to the Future comes out 1985. Like, I'm a young dude. I'm like 7, 8 years old. But Christopher Lloyd was playing an older dude. So to me, Christopher Lloyd has lived to be 120 because when I was younger, he was already playing older because of Back to the Future. But he wasn't that old. But he was always older in my mind. So Christopher Lloyd has been frozen in time for the last 30 years. Something I'm sure he has heard before. John, we loved you in Columbus. Seeing you was on my bucket list, and you did not disappoint. Thank you, Rachel. I think it's amazing that I'm on people's bucket lists because for a very long time, it was easy to go see me. You would just like go check it out. You go, oh, John's coming through. And I guess by being off the radar for a little while, people caught on to the music who had yet to see a show. And so it's very cool that I'm on a bucket list for you. And I'm glad you got to cross it off. That's very cool. Let's see what else is going on here. How many people? Oh, 9.6 thousand people. All right. What measures are you taking while on tour for caring for your vocal cords? Asks Crystal Bailey. Well, I rest my voice. I don't go out after shows. I look at this very seriously now. I look at vocal cords as an instrument, except an instrument you can't get another one of. I put myself to bed, which makes me love another day. The more you put yourself to bed, the more you're showing respect to the next day. I know that sounds corny, but the more you place yourself to rest, the more you are showing respect to the next day. And that's what I do. I cut coffee. Apparently I've got an acid reflux problem. That's what they tell me. And I don't feel it, but it's real because ever since I cut coffee and drinking and all that stuff, I'm much more consistent and I can kind of sing as long as I want now, which is great. And at a certain age, certainly not with coffee, but at a certain age, music, you have to stop celebrating after every show. Nobody celebrates after every job that they have. You don't celebrate at the end of every job. You don't go like, I just mowed the fuck out of that lawn. If there was a song from The Search for Everything that you would show teenage John to say, look what you're capable of, what track would you choose? Courtney Gillum, that's a great question. You're going to live forever in me. That's mine. Songwriting is about entering a trance and a part of your brain that you're not friends with, you don't know very well, supplying you with something that you can sing for the rest of your life. and I get that song. And you can't really, it's concise. And as a songwriter who occasionally sets up the goal for himself over time as write the most concise, salient, emotional, less is more song, I would play that for myself and I would go, look, you're going to be fine. You were meant to do this. You don't have to worry so much. Let's go to some questions before we... how's everyone doing? You having fun? You having fun out there? I don't want anyone getting bored. Plus, I have to sound check in just a little bit. Okay, let's go to this. This again, the piece of paper. Got that. If you had the chance to travel back in time and talk to your 19-year-old self, what piece of advice would you give to him? That's from Matthew Burns from Tennessee. I'd leave him alone. I'd leave him alone. It's true. He wasn't going to listen to anyone else. And he'd probably have more questions for me than I had anything to say to him. And it'd be about my hair or something. Like, how'd you get it straight? How'd you finally get it straight? And it'd be like, you got to blow dry it. That's it for the pieces of paper. Let's spend a couple full-time RVer. I myself an RVer. We'll see you in Colorado. I own a lot of vintage Strats. Every guitar is different, so it doesn't matter. You could find a great new one and a bad 60s guitar. You just have to find the right one. And I bought a bunch of guitars, and best one in the bunch is that 64. Let's see. The search for everything. I've learned there is currently no mascara on the market waterproof enough. That's funny. You want to go on Shark Tank and sell a mascara that's strong enough for the search for everything? How come you wrote this album? Was it due to everyone else, or did you just feel like it? Well, I'm compelled to write another record at the end of it. Every time I'm done with a record, I'm compelled to write another one. So now that this record's out, I now have like a open hard drive. Like I've got like gigs of information that have now come back to me, and so I don't do a very good job of not making music when the slate is clear. So I always make it because I'm always making it because that's what I'm able to do, and it's just it's the contract with the gift, man. It's like if you get given a gift, your contract is that you use it. When will I admit my bromance with Ryan Adams? I love Ryan Adams, and he is a hugely, hugely underrated. And when I say underrated, I mean by people of a new generation who have no idea how much they would love his music. And I'm thinking about going around the world with a bunch of lamp cord and tying people up and making them be like, you have to listen to this record. It's a weird way to tell people you're going to play music for them, but I was just thinking of some scene from 24 I saw one time. I'm not going to shoot anybody in the leg, but I would like them to listen to Ryan Adams more. Can't wait to see you either, Emily. I can't wait to see a lot of you guys. Anyone who can't wait to see me, I can't wait to. Let's see what else. Hello, Denmark. Excited to get out to you. Do I ever watch Where the Light Is? I do not. But I have understood over the last few years that people have like nights with it. Like people spend a Saturday night. I've seen a lot of cool pictures of people with a glass of wine and me on the TV watching Where the Light Is. And I think that had a lot to do with this tour, with this configuration, because I knew that it meant a lot to people. Ask me a tough one. Come on. I know of Neil Finn and love him. Do I ever think I will make a song more beautiful than Edge of Desire? I think I might have. Edge of Desire is a good vulnerable one from Battle Stems. That's a good one. Don't say a word, just come over and lie here with me is a thought that has recurred many times in my life. Like, okay, words don't work. So What if you never speak it? What if we never speak again? Which is a beautiful way of sort of expressing desperation. Like, well, we just don't have to talk. Big shout out to Fairfield, Connecticut. If you're a guitar player or a musician, like Jonathan Boreski, and you're in Fairfield, Connecticut, anything's possible. You can find music in Fairfield, Connecticut. I love that I'm a Dead Company too. I see a kind of progression. Angel Hernandez says, John, I see a kind of progression throughout the album. Did you place these songs in a specific order to express something? And if so, what is it? Great question. I just wanted it to flow, and the record has 2 parts. And I think each song I knew where it was going to go on the record. It's not necessarily a story in lyric form, but it is a certain role of the music. So sequencing it took about 10 minutes because I already knew, okay, I knew You're Gonna Live Forever in Me goes at the end. I knew Still Feel Like Your Man opens up. That's sort of a bracket. I knew that changing, In the Blood changing, the Search theme is in the middle. And I knew Moving On and Getting Over started sort of side B. I knew Rosie was a late in the record track. I knew that Roll It On Home was sort of late. So everything sort of placed itself based on what song it was. And I think it has a nice arc, although by the time I sequenced it, I just probably couldn't hear it one more time. I think I listened to it one time since it was mastered. But that's only because I can't fix it anymore. And I'm not interested in hearing it unless I can do something else to it. So I'll have to write more I can hear. Although, if there was one record that I'll listen to, that I would listen to, theoretically, going forward, it would be this record. John, if you left music and retired tomorrow, what cause would you be most passionate about next? Thank you for writing such beautiful words that have inspired me for over a decade. That's from Renita. If music was done and I had to go into a cause, I would make sure people didn't forget about veteran care, which I do already, but I would put all my effort into that because it's an ongoing issues are very difficult to keep in people's minds. The mind is a lot more capable of holding on to a quick sort of acute situation that they can see a resolution to within a week or a day or whatever, a month. And this is an ongoing thing, and we have to set aside a certain part of our brains to give to ongoing issues, and this is maybe one of the most important ongoing issues in the country. So it's one that I have a point of entry to. It's one that I feel very close to, and I would spend more time doing that. But also, it's me, and I don't know how much I could help or hurt something if I spent more time standing next to it. I do a lot of stuff where I don't stand next to it, probably not because of selflessness. Well, maybe it's a certain kind of selflessness where you're like, I don't want people who have opinions about me to stop this greater cause from getting a boost or having benefit. But yeah. All right, let's take a few more questions. And then, because we're over 30 minutes, let's take a few more questions. And then, what is your best piece of advice for aspiring musicians and guitar players? Asks Anthony. I don't know if anybody needs any advice. Keep passing through these borders of what you don't know and learn it. And keep practicing and don't get distracted and become a crazy person and do it as many hours a day as you can. Because music is, on a classicist sort of level, music is one of those things where you have to put hundreds and thousands of hours in to get. I mean, to bend a guitar string in a certain way that sounds like a human voice takes years and years and years and years and years. And that takes hours and hours and hours. So, but the thing about giving advice to musicians is if you are, I would think most cases, if you're meant to be a musician, you won't take anybody's advice. Like positive or like you'll just follow your own creed, follow your own mission statement. I design cryptic art that's etched into guitars. Would love to do one for you. All right, Jason Parsons. I'll take a look at that. Cryptic art. Do you know what it means if it's cryptic? Is it cryptic to everyone else? Do you have a meaning? Or is it cryptic even to yourself? Because maybe all art is cryptic. You know, people told me, I think Walt Grace is about you. And I went, I did not know that. But I believe they're right. What's been your favorite, most spiritual, amazing musical experience you've had, whether in the writing process or playing with other artists, where you felt it doesn't get any better than this? About a year ago, well, sadly, I know it was a year ago because of the death of Prince, very few days after Prince passed away, Dave Chappelle called. I was in the studio making The Search for Everything, and he said, what are you doing? I'm thinking of getting my guys who play music together. We're going to go to this bar, and we're gonna play. We're just going to jam, and we're going to pay tribute to Prince. And I went, great. And I left the studio early, went there, and from there it became an unbelievable night. It's a historic night in this room. And there were about 300 people in that room. No, probably fewer than that. 200 people in that room? There were not 300. There were 100 and something people in that room. And they were there till 3:30 in the morning. Maybe that's where I got 300 from. It was like 150 people there till 3:30 in the morning. And the music was unbelievable. Stevie Wonder was there. Nas was there. It was just unbelievable. I stayed up on stage the whole night. At one point, Stevie was standing on the floor, and I was on the stage with the band, and he was just shouting out songs and keys. And I got to tell you, it was divine, the way that everyone just knew these songs. We didn't know we knew them through and through, but I guess that's a testament to both how memorable his music is and also how powerful his spirit is in terms of Prince, that everybody, it was like a musical. We could have rehearsed that for weeks if you watched it. You'd say, how many weeks did they rehearse this? And it all came together in one night, which was beautiful. Have I ever played Human Nature live again after Michael Jackson tribute? I did not, but thank you. The thing about the Michael Jackson tribute was that I forgot to put my in-ears in because I was coming from the seats. And I remember as I started playing, I went, oh no, I can't really totally hear myself. And then I went, you don't have to, just go, just let it go. And that was me not playing for any, maybe that was one of the first experiences of me playing music that wasn't for me. And since then, I've had a lot of experiences now that are meant to take someone else somewhere, primarily. Okay, well, if anybody has ever gone on a live broadcast, you'll know how hard it is to sign off. I'm going to take 2 more questions. And then any other Search for Everything questions? Anybody burning to know anything about the Search for Everything? The making of it, the songs, or the lyrics? Was it hard to play with the trio? It's only hard in that you've got to cover a lot of bases. You've got to play first base and second base at the same time. John, do you see a difference between the sorry man, born and raised Paradise Valley, and the man behind the Search? Yeah, sure. I think born and raised, there's a lot in there. You know, I think what happens is the first line in Whiskey, 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 well, we pick up in New York City, I'm trying to find the man I never got to be, is really the line for Born and Raised. Like that's like the first line under Born and Raised. If there was the Star Wars scroll, it would say Born and Raised, well, I pick up in New York City. And that was very true to me, that whole record. And the whole record's not sorry, man. Like, If I Ever Get Around to Living is this really beautiful, freaky thing. And something like Olivia is light. I don't think I'll ever make a record that's completely without light. Love on the Weekend on this record, you know, there's a she there. They're together. That's something that's living and real. I think that's what the record needed, because there's a fair amount of sort of ghostliness to this one guy in this record who's accessing memories and accessing feelings. But, you know, so that's Born and Raised. Paradise Valley is a different record. It's more of like, I've got a record to make, why wouldn't I make it? It's not necessarily meant to push the overall narrative forward. But then again, It's got Dear Marie, which I love. It's got Waiting on the Day, which I love. It's got Badge and Gun, which I love. But it's understandably not commercial. And then this record is, it's exactly what a record would be or should be for me at this point in my life. It's not sorry. I know who I am. I know where I stand. It took almost 40 years to get there. That seems right to me. And it's like my first record as an adult, maybe. It's my first adult record, I feel like. It's the first record made only to investigate what I can do and investigate how I feel about stuff. It is a very tuned in record. Favorite part about The Search for Everything? Why should you go out and buy it? Hey, I'm not your Friday night party guy, but I'm your Sunday morning breakfast guy. And it's a fine Sunday morning breakfast soundtrack. Why should you get it? You'll find something in there. It's like $9. For $9, I'll tell you this, it's well worth $9, $10, $11, $12. I can easily tell you that. Will I do a duets album? Very good question. I would do a record where I wasn't singing and someone else was. I would like to do a record where I'm producing and it's me playing, and almost like the way a EDM guy would have different people sing. I would want to play and have other people sing because I'm very limited as a singer in that my range is not great, and also I'm me. I would love to write for certain people and hear them sing ideas I wrote. That'd be cool. All right, everybody. It's really nice talking to you. And am I promoting the record? Maybe. But I'm also giving a little insight without the filtration device of journalism. It is what it is. May everybody get their clicks. May everybody get their coin. That's cool, but it's nice to talk directly to you. And one thing about Bob Weir everyone should know. A sweetheart. Just a sweetheart. Sweetheart. You already know the rest, but he's a sweetheart. How'd you get the balls to just go after your dreams like you have? No other choice. No other choice. I didn't. Let me tell you this. I'll end off with this. What looks like balls is sometimes just pure, unadulterated fear. And if you're meant to do something, your legs will take you. While your brain and your arms and your head are going, I don't want to, but your legs will take you. And I knew before I knew, there was a little engine room inside of me that wasn't overtly motivated, but just quietly would just motor forward. And I was a big dreamer, but I didn't dream this. And what a great story that I have now. The details, I would swap certain things out, but the story itself, the arc of the story, I couldn't be happier. This makes perfect sense for me. This is what would have happened. If you met me when I was 14, you could have said, here, let me tell you what's going to happen with this kid. So I'm very much on track. And I thank you guys for following me along. And I hope you love the record. And I hope you come out to the shows. I send you all my love. I really mean that. And I will see you later. Bonus question. Sending peace, love back your way as well. Okay. Bye, guys. Have a great rest of the weekend. It's a Saturday. I'm going to sound check.